Are you ready?
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, Tool to Play presents Still Got Game with Derek D. Smooth Nolan and Joel Duda Rock Albert.
If you'd like to sponsor Still Got Game, give us a call at 773-527-2961 or email us at podcast@tooltoplay.com. Hey now, welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, Still Got Game, episode 368. Still Got Game is the official podcast of tooltoplay.com. I am, as always, Derek D. Smooth Nolan.
I am Joel Duda Rock Albert.
And Tiffany Electrify Nolan will be joining us later from the news desk, and Hitman will be joining us in the after show. Jay, we are back after 2 weeks off due to Canadian holidays and fake U.S. holidays, and I was talking Columbus Day.
Right.
Controversial holiday. In our schools here, it's now known as Indigenous Peoples Day.
Is it really?
Half of the kids' schools, it's called Indigenous People Day. The others, it's still called Columbus Day. But
Probably a smart move.
But that lined up with HIT's Canadian Thanksgiving because they give thanks that they're not here, and we give thanks we're not there, I guess. But we're back, and we're doing a show. So that's all you can ask for, right?
It's right. Let's get this show on the road.
All right. Well, we'll start back from last week. No, it's actually not last week's show. We'll start with feedback from 3 weeks ago's show. And remember, if you want to leave us a voicemail, it will cut you off after a minute. T40 Deeker comments. Okay, I'm sorry I called you guys total fucking fanboys. After the last episode, I searched up the Xbox One X specs that you mentioned and compared them to the PS4 Pro. CPU, GPU, and RAM were all better on the Xbox One X, like you said. Sorry.
You know what? We are fanboys. We were lying to you the entire time.
It was just a coincidence that the stats were way better.
It just happens that it's better product. But I'd buy it if it was a worse product. Because that's what fanboys do.
But sometimes it does help just to Google something before calling people.
True. You don't need to technically lose your shit and say something, until you know that the thing you're talking about is actually correct. But, do what you got to do.
But you did apologize. You did say sorry. So the olive branch has been given to us, and we'll decide whether we accept it or burn it.
Exactly. And for the record, if Sony had the games I wanted and was a more powerful system, I would buy the Sony. Also, I bought the Sony anyway. Because I don't know why. Because I have it and it's sitting over here in the corner. Lonely.
It's what we do. Yeah. Got to catch them all.
Exactly.
All right. Radio Love comments. Thank you all so much for the last show. It was like getting two shows in one. Now, after rereading this comment, because I originally wrote the comments part of this outline 2 weeks ago when I thought we were going to do a show, I had to go back and look at why this comment came in, and it was the show where our after show was the exact same length as the actual show.
Oh, yeah, I remember that show.
So it was an hour and a half of show. No, it was only an hour and a half. There was 45 minutes of show and 45 minutes of after show, but it was impressive. It was like...
What did we talk about for 45 minutes after the show?
Destiny.
Oh, okay. Jesus. Christ, this game.
Hey, if nothing else, it's good for talking. Yeah.
That's true.
Yeah. It gives us some talking points.
It creates opinions. That game creates opinions.
It does. Yes. All right. And last but not least, Little Victor comments. Oh, hell yes. I love this show. Best podcast that I sub to. Now, I changed when there were exclamation points. I said it in kind of that louder voice, but I'm not sure if that's how it was intended. But at least I tried to express it how I read it.
Well, he does have a cornucopia of exclamation points. They're all over the place.
Lots of
sprinkled in for fun.
Yes.
Yeah.
But I'm glad that this is the best podcast that you sub to.
I don't believe him.
No.
Or maybe he hasn't gotten out enough. Find some other podcasts.
Like maybe this is the only podcast?
Well, I'm just saying we're probably like top two of his two subs.
Like maybe it's us and This Week in Tech. With
Neil
LaForte.
Right.
It's outdated.
I forgot
like
that was
10
even
years.
still a podcast.
I know. I did too. I was trying to think of something that was so boring.
Is he actually still podcasting?
Oh yeah, he does. Yeah. I still follow him on Twitter, even though I'm not sure why. I follow John Dvorak on Twitter too.
Jesus.
And he's just like a crotchety old man that complains all the time. He's like your grandpa.
He's like a tech journalist that hates all tech. That's what he is. He's just a guy that tries everything but hates it all the time.
Oh, kids, get off my lawn with your new tech. But yeah, So if we compare us to them, I'm sure that we are
we're top.
Yes. Yeah. Or maybe against Joe Rogan's podcast. He's just like too roided out. Talking about
it's a great conspiracy theory podcast if you're into that sort of thing.
Yeah, if you've been hit enough times in the head in UFC, then you have some sweet conspiracy theories.
If you like whey protein and you think the moon landing was fake, it's the best podcast. There it is.
And that wraps up our podcast advertising corner. Thanks to our sponsor, Joe Rogan. But yes, thank you, Little Victor. Whether we think you're high as a kite or not, we appreciate your love for the show. And I'm pretty sure we alienated all 3 commenters during our wrap up of their comments. But it happens. There's nothing we can do. We're assholes. If any of you have comments like this, give us a call, 773-527-2961, or email us at podcast@toolsplay.com. And that, why don't we hop on over into what we're playing? Joel Dude I Rock Albert, what are you playing this week?
PUBG, and then I finally finished a game 2 weeks ago. It's called Destiny 2. I completed that game. There are no more things to do. Yeah. Yes. I didn't know there was an ending, but I found the ending. So I'm waiting for Destiny 3 now. That's where I'm at.
Fair enough. See. Well, I guess I haven't found the end of Destiny 2 yet.
Good for you.
Despite reaching the end game content and finishing it, but I'm still playing Destiny 2, and I also picked up Cuphead. And
Is it good?
It is hard as shit.
Everyone said it's so fucking hard that you have to have the patience of a Zen master to play.
That was another one when I was hitting the desk. I felt like throwing my controller, but it's the Elite, and I didn't want to really throw that. Like it's cost prohibitive to throw that bad boy, so you don't do that. You just hit the desk instead, and you yell swears and fucks and shits, and yeah, it's tough. Like it's supposed to harken back to like the boss battles of platformers of our younger days, and if they were that hard when we were kids, I'm surprised we didn't break more shit or get in trouble.
I think they were, and it was just because it was the only thing that we had, and so we just kept pressing forward because there were no other games to buy. Like, your parents wouldn't just get, like my parents wouldn't get one game, right? Yeah, exactly, for Christmas, and that was the game that was going to last me until something new came.
Until your birthday.
So you had to do it. You had to fucking sit down like Battletoads. That was anyone play Battletoads when they were younger. Yep. You had to be Zen Master to get through that, or Ninja Gaiden, or any of those games. They were that shitty. Yep. So I feel like they've struck a chord.
That's definitely what this game is. I think, knowing your background, I think you would enjoy the pain of this game. I really do.
I don't think anymore. I think I've transcended that way of gaming.
It's also a play anywhere game. So I bought it on the Xbox. I can also play it on the PC. So you can, granted, 4K resolution doesn't really help that game because it's supposed to look like a 1930s cartoon and it has like all the staticky stuff built into it. But soundtrack's great. It's all feels old timey and shit. And it obviously I played it now at like 7 different events over 5 years. But it's awesome.
It looks, I will say, I don't usually watch on Twitch. I watch games that I play on Twitch. That's like the only thing I do when it comes to Twitch. But I watch Cuphead games because I actually found it watching them play and seeing these streamers want to punch their monitor. I was like, dude, I don't know how this guy has not had a coronary right now. Like, I would be the fuck out of there. I would not be cool.
Because first they drop you in, you have no idea what the fucking mechanic is. Then you finally figure it out and you're like, okay, I got it. And then it's like the little bullshit things that fucking hit you. And you only have like 3 hit points to get through a level. And then all of a sudden you get hit and you're like, okay, I got 2 left. And then you get past the first, like each boss phase is broken like 3 different sections. And there's no saving or continuing there. You just know where you fucked up and left off. And you finally get to the 3rd phase and you're like, okay, I got hit points left. And then all of a sudden you're learning that mechanic, bullshit, you get killed. Boom, back to the beginning. Do it over again. And then some little thing happens and you're like, oh, fucking A, bullshit. I hate this game. Fuck this. All right, one more time. And then after you're like 70th one more time, you beat that boss. You're like, piece of cake, bitch. And then you move on and it's...
Now, can you ever get health back or no?
As you go through the game, like I haven't got super far yet. I just bought it a couple days ago. I know that different shops will sell extra hearts in the game. So there's also this RPG aspect that's going on behind the scenes where you can buy different weapons to use, like a 3-way scatter shot.
Right.
And it's like, well, it's not as powerful, but it shoots in 3 directions. And so you have this whole other economy going on behind the scenes. And I think you can buy more hit points as you move along. So
Pretty cool.
It's a cool mechanic. It's like RPG meets the like nonstop boss battle simulator. It's pretty cool, but I'd recommend it. But that's just me. If you're a masochist,
You're like, I fucking hate it, but you should buy it.
It's a good hate though, because when you finally beat the level, you feel that sense of accomplishment. That it's like being a kid again, and you finally beat a game. But you get that same feeling every time you actually just get through a level.
Kill one level,
Yes,
right?
yeah, you're like, whoo! Like the levels aren't even that long. They're like a minute and a half, 2 minutes tops. But when you get through, you finally feel like you've done something phenomenal. But yeah, that's it for me. So I guess on that, why don't we move on over into the new releases? First new release out this week is a multi-platform release, and it's South Park: The Fractured Butthole, aka The Fractured Butthole. That's out for the Xbox One, the PS4, and the PC. This is Ubisoft's long-awaited sequel to the 2014 RPG hit South Park: The Stick of Truth. This time around, the gang are all role-playing superheroes in the game, and you have a choice between 12 different superhero classes. It's directly tied to a season 21 episode of the show called Franchise Prequel, which is basically the South Park ripoff of Marvel's Civil War. So in the game, Cartman has his crew and somebody else has their crew, and you're picking a side and all this other shit. Game looks great, and it's been getting solid reviews in the mid-8s. So I'd say this is definitely a must-buy for South Park fans, and for everybody else, I just don't know. Like, we saw this at a couple events, especially E3 2 years ago, and then at PAX East this past year. Not my kind of game. Like, I know there's so many people that are still so into South Park, and for like the first, bunch of years of South Park, I love the show, but it's like The Simpsons to me now. It's still on, but I was the hardest core Simpsons guy for probably 10, maybe 15 years, and then these things can't go on forever. So I just, even though they do, but it's just not my thing anymore. I
think as a game, like from what everyone said, I think that what makes them so good, and again, I haven't bought them, so take it with a grain of salt, but I'm a fan of the show. I still do watch the show. I don't play the game, but from what I've heard, the gameplay itself is phenomenal. The games, generally speaking, for like at least the last two, have been
they
wildly successful, and people are like, I actually had people telling me last week that they were so glad they were done with Destiny because they couldn't wait to play this game, and that's a really big shift in
the
game
game's
stuff.
Funny as fucking shit. Don't get me wrong. Yeah, and people love the RPG stuff. They've dialed in like the perfect mix of the RPG leveling up and the character stuff versus like it being a South Park game. Two things that you think should not be able to go together, but they do.
Yeah. So, I mean, if you're in it, I feel like it's sort of a no-brainer. If you're looking for a new game and whatever game is out right now is not giving that love to you, and you like South Park, I do think it's a no-brainer. Because so far, they've really done well in terms of balancing the video game portion and obviously the funny tie-ins from South Park. So it has a good mix of both. So I would definitely recommend it, even though I haven't even played it.
Look at that. Blind recommendations.
That's rare.
That's what you get from this show is blind recommendations.
We don't play games, but we will definitely tell you which games to buy and which games not to buy.
Yeah, exactly. That's why you respect our opinions.
Exactly.
Yes. All right. Well, the other new release out this week is also a multi-platform release. It's WWE 2K18. This is out for the Xbox One, the PS4, and the PC. This is the 19th game in 2K's wildly popular series of WWE wrestling games. It includes 47 playable characters from the WWE, including 2 throwback characters. In addition to the graphical bump that these games get every year, several game modes have been updated, and a brand new Road to Glory mode has also been added, which is similar to the modes we've seen added to hockey and to football and all these like progress through the, take your guy and progress through the whole thing kind of mode. Also, for the first time since the 2001 PS2 game WWF, yeah, I said F, SmackDown, Just Bring It, the game will support 8 simultaneous players for certain match types. There's no early review scores out for this yet, but these games are never well reviewed because they actually suck, but they usually score in the mid-7s, which is reasonable, but they sell a shitload of copies because WWE fans pick these things up in droves. They know they don't have to, like, bring in a 9. They can phone in a 7, and they're going to still sell Madden numbers of copies. It's fucked up.
It is fucked up. And look, though, if you're a fan of anything you buy, like, I almost, again, whenever we see these, I always feel like we shouldn't even talk about these anymore because these fucking, and it's like a broken record. Every fucking show we do, there has to be something in this category that we have to talk about. That we're never going to. They got update roster, and they got it makes me want to cry, honestly. But if you're a fan, then it's just fan service. Every year you get your fan service, you pay your money, you get exactly what you're expecting, probably a little less. Yeah, generally speaking. And it's okay. It's just a money machine that keeps ticking along. So if you're into that sort of thing and you like WWE, you're going to buy it anyway. There is no other WWE thing that you're going to buy on the Xbox or Sony or PC. So this is your one and only chance and one and only option. So you're going to buy it by default. That's it. I don't suspect any of us. Maybe I'm wrong. I would love for someone that listens to the show or watches the show to send in something that says, I bought this game and I'm not even a fan of WWE. I want to know who that. I want to know who that person is.
Now, I will make a confession. This past Sunday morning, because we pay for EA Access, where we get all the EA backlog and get the early games. I have to admit, I downloaded UFC 2, and I played a game of UFC 2, which is last year's UFC game, the 2016 Ultimate Fighting Championship game. I played as Ronda Rousey just to get in the fight, tried it out. But
did you get your ass beat? Did you talk a lot of shit and then get your ass beat by a real fighter?
No, I didn't even play online. I played against a computer-controlled character. Yeah, I could not. I definitely wasn't going online the first time ever playing a UFC game, and it's not my cup of tea. It is definitely not. It was fun to be Ronda Rousey for a little bit. It's like you go for punches and you're missing, and then all of a sudden you got the stamina meter. Fuck that. Like, that thing's empty and you can't throw any more punches. I just want to throw infinite punches. Just let me just go fucking ape shit nuts. But that's not how these games are. So I did try one of these sports fighting games, and it's not for me. But I definitely am not going to try the WWE. Now, granted, if it had Stephen Amell in there from Arrow, and he was doing his, like, Stephen Amell doing the WWE thing against who was he against? I don't even remember. But yeah, I might pick it up then. But no, this is not my kind of game.
No, you wouldn't.
This is one time I wouldn't. But just to spend Stephen Amell, I would.
You're saying it. But you're going to spend $60 for that? Just give me the $60 and I'll just tell you you're an idiot. And then we just both walk away.
I'm literally one click away from joining Stephen Amell's Knocking Point Wine Club, the wine of the month club. And I don't even drink fucking wine. Stephen Amell has that power. He's like your bro. You just can't let him down. I don't understand it. You can't shake your head on this one.
It's too late. The shake has already happened.
You can't.
Disappointment all around. This whole just a mass of disappointment and shame, really. Shame.
Well, I'm going to try to get out of that shame by taking us into gaming news. So, Tiff, help me out. What's going on?
I don't know. I want to hear more about your man crush.
That is the news. That's all of it right there.
That is.
No,
I'm good.
The guy that doesn't think Stephen Amell is a cool guy is not a real guy. You got to admit to yourself that he's a pretty big badass. But
okay, we get it.
Dig us out of this hole.
Yes, Tiff.
I know. I'm waiting.
All right.
You're good. Go.
Tiff, why don't you start with the news? First story!
11 years after creating League of Legends, Riot is making a new game, and this comes from Joystick X Engadget. The two founders of Riot Games announced that they're handing off the management of League of Legends to other administrators so they can make a new game, which will end up being the publisher's second big video game release in 11 years of operation. Brandon Riesbeck and Mark Trindamere Merrill created Riot in 2006 to develop their only title, which has become a wildly successful gaming juggernaut dominating the MOBA genre. Now they're handing over the leadership reign so they can make new titles that will finally put the S in Riot Games, as they put in their joint statement. In order to do that, they're handing over company operations to Riot CFO Dylan Jadeja, Scott Gleb CTO, and Nicola Laurent, the president. That leaves Rise and Trindamere free to develop new, as yet undefined titles for the publisher, which has produced a tabletop and several small games, but no AAA tentpoles beyond League of Legends. It'll certainly take the pressure off their shoulders from running the blockbuster title, which sports 100 million players worldwide, which continues to redefine the esports world. So what do you guys think about this? They got to put the S in Riot Games.
The pressure for these two guys.
To follow up on League?
Oh my God. I read this earlier this week and I was like, so there's a 99% chance that any game they create is pure dog shit. Can you agree with that?
At least 99%.
There's just, they had lightning in a bottle. I hate doing this to creatives because it's not nice. I can't create a game that has 100 million people. So I'm not really one to talk.
You couldn't create two of them. Just
not
like
twice.
PUBG, PlayerUnknown can't create two of them.
No.
These
and
guys
that's the thing
one
is,
and done.
It's a one and done scenario. Now, I would love to be proven wrong. The only time I think I ever have been proved wrong, although I didn't say anything, is Blizzard, where you assume there's no way Blizzard can do this again, right? Yeah. And they have seemingly been able to do it multiple times over with multiple titles and different
multiple
IPs.
Genres,
right? And that is a rarity that I just don't. Part of that rarity comes from it's not just one guy. And that's what I think you have here is you've got these two creatives that built this one game, and now these same two guys are going to try to go out there and build something completely different, I hope. That's really their only chance, and create lightning in a bottle once again. I just think that is, if I was them, I would just be crying on my pillow
on your laurels
every night.
Enjoy your game, yes.
Yeah. I mean, it's just so, it's like, that's great that Riot wants to branch out. The one thing that I know that they know that we know, that we all do know, is that League cannot last forever. And just like World of Warcraft and all these other massive games, player bases will eventually dwindle. We're already seeing that with PUBG, taking people out of that spectrum. The amounts of viewership for League is no longer up to the standards that it was 2-3 years ago. Now, it's not a mass hemorrhage, and they for certain will have plenty of more runway to go with that game. But they know that it's time's ticking. And I just think that any game they create is going to be under so much scrutiny by the player base that it's going to kill them. Because let's be frank, if you're playing a MOBA and that's your game and it's at that level, if Riot comes out with a game that's an FPS or whatever, something totally different, that means that you as that player have to then want to like a different. If you're a Riot Games guy, you have to like that genre, which probably won't happen.
Doesn't
so
the only thing they can do here to be successful is to do another MOBA and set it in a different like Warcraft and StarCraft originally. Like here, go for maybe like medieval shit and just everybody's medieval. You don't have any more fucking casting spells. I don't know what you do.
I don't know. Right. But like even if they do that, people will be like, that's so contrived. You did that before. Yeah. Like that's what I mean. All avenues lead to
failure.
And that is a terrible thing to say. And I actually somehow feel bad saying it. But I mean, good luck is the only thing you can say in that scenario, because it is really hard to get people to love a game twice. But it's even harder to make people love two different games equally on that scale. I
don't know. Instead of changing their company name to Riot, instead of changing and creating a new game, they should just change their company name to Riot Game.
Riot Game.
Yep. That would be the easier solution. Change your company name. You don't have to split into two companies. You don't need to like create a new board. Boom, we're Riot Game. This is all our eggs are in this basket forever until it's done. And you know what? We've made hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars, and we'll tap out and call it a day.
And like you and I both know, to build a AAA title, it costs exceeding amounts of money. And you've got to be worried if you're the people that are not working on this game. That's the bread and butter, the thing that writes the checks. You're going to have to suck a giant amount of that profit out of the company to pray that these two dudes are going to somehow come up with a magical unicorn again. That has to have you shit in your pants even on the other side of the table, because that's the livelihood of the game. That's the things that make all these other things possible within Riot Games right now. So it's rough, dude. It's rough.
Especially where their original bread and butter is a derivative of a mod that they were involved in, which is
it's like
the same thing with PUBG. PUBG, he did the H1Z1 mod, and then he did his own thing based on the same thing. Like, I don't know. I think this is just doomed for failure. I think
it's so sad to say it, but I really don't see. And look, if they come out with a game and we're like, holy shit, this is amazeballs, that those two will be in it to win it for a very long period of time. Riot has a potential to become a Blizzard on that scale if they can somehow manage to create a video game that is even 20% of the game that they create. If they can get
Oh, yeah.
10 million people, 2 million people, 3 million people, I think that's a success in the eyes of most people. And I think they'll do totally fine. The one thing they have going for them, obviously, is the brand. So no matter what, I think the game's going to sell. I just don't know if people will stick around. So
Yeah. MOBA people are different than other people.
they really are. It's a different breed. So we'll see.
All right. Next story.
Phil Spencer, pessimistic about cross-platform play with PS4 players, and this comes from NeoWin. In the months since Microsoft first extended an invitation for cross-platform play to the creators of the two other major gaming consoles, Sony and Nintendo, it would seem that the former hasn't softened its stance on the issue. When Microsoft first announced its intention to bring cross-platform play for Minecraft in order to allow players from across the phone, PC, and console to play together, Sony refused to join the party, insisting that it was doing so for the safety of its player base. Back then, Spencer was visibly offended by Sony's backhanded jab at its rival, and as a recent interview suggests, things haven't improved in the time since. Even though the two companies were reported to be actively talking about implementing such a feature, Spencer's new comments suggest those negotiations were all talk and no action is likely to result from them, he remarked. We talk to Sony all the time. With Minecraft on PlayStation, we have to be one of the biggest games on their platform in terms of sales and gameplay. Same with Nintendo. The relationship with Nintendo on this front has been strong. They've been great supporters and we continue to collaborate with them, but I think Sony's view is different. They should talk about what their view is. While he refused to mark the feature as a lost cause, cautioning the interviewer regarding his inability to speak for Sony, he did indirectly suggest that Sony's view on the matter is that enabling cross-platform play would discourage sales of its consoles. Being locked into an ecosystem is likely to encourage individuals in the same social circles to invest in that particular ecosystem, and Sony apparently adheres to this viewpoint. Spencer himself opposed the way of looking at the matter, instead extolling the virtues of cross-platform play as being better for gamers. He added, "If it's better for gamers, I have a hard time thinking why we shouldn't go do this, especially when you're trying to make the gaming business a bigger business. Grow it, get more games, create more opportunity, especially in the indie space, actually. If you're creating an online indie game and you're going to create 5 shards of your game, the Steam version, Xbox Live, PC, Xbox version, and PlayStation version, the Switch version creates hard matchmaking scenarios. We should help developers not make their lives more difficult." As a recent mistake by Fortnite developer Epic Games shows, the implementation of such a feature would likely require no extra work on the part of Microsoft and Sony at all, and so it seems that the only thing that stands in the way is politics between the two rivals. That was quite a lot to go through. I'm sure you guys have a ton to talk about there, but wow.
The first thing I want to say is I love when you do your Phil Spencer impression,
Oh,
and you get
thanks.
all like, if it's better for gamers, I have a hard time thinking
He
the
was
way
so
we-
aggro. He's like,
Well, he has every right to be
Yeah.
like. So it's a weird scenario here because it's mildly disingenuous from where Phil is coming from, simply because for him it's a no-brainer for Microsoft to open up the platform. Now, Sony is correct, I think, in wanting to keep the platform closed. The difference, obviously, between the two is that Microsoft has the ability for 2 reasons. One, they own Minecraft, so any sales they get that money for anyway. But also, they have the PC. They have 2 platforms where creating that cross-platform play is also a no-brainer for them. They get a double dip on that scenario as well. So it is mildly disingenuous, just so that people that listen to the show don't think we're total jerk-off fanboys. There is a piece there that is kind of bullshit. But on the flip side, where I do agree with him, and I think is the most important piece, is that for the games business as a whole, and for growing that business out, you got to look at the long game. And I think the long game is really cross-platform play. If you want to get more people to feel comfortable buying a game system and not like the issue that happens is new gamers come in and they ask you, Derek, what's the best system? And you say Xbox. And they go out to the store, they buy a PlayStation because the guy told them to. And then they get home and they hook it up and they say like, oh, Derek, I actually got the PlayStation because this guy said it was better. And then you're like, all right, well, have fun with your friends that you have to go find because that's it for us. And that scenario, I think people don't realize is more true than not. And so in order to keep the games industry going, I think you need that synergy between all companies working together. And then you've got to rely on the product that you sell.
Yeah, it's your product
it's
and your
your product.
exclusives
Right.
that get people to buy your system. And then the multi-platform titles, let someone play Madden on the Switch versus someone on the Xbox. Let someone play Madden on the PlayStation versus someone on the PC. It doesn't fucking matter. Like,
No.
it's a title that's not a system seller. It doesn't matter. Count on your exclusives to be the things that sell your system. Count on your hardware to be the thing that sells your system. Make sure you can do actual 4K and not fucking window pane, up-resed 4K. Like, put the money in where it matters, and I don't know. I think people would have less of a problem with Sony being dicks if they just owned why they're being dicks. But instead, they blame things like security and everything else. I'll tell you, fucking Nintendo is the most locked down.
They were the worst.
And they're in on this fucking Minecraft ecosystem with everybody else. And like, remember friend codes? Remember you couldn't even find someone's name? Like, you couldn't search for someone by email address, or you had to like literally get this giant code for it. You still do. You still need these stupid codes to pair up with people. So if Nintendo is like, hey, this is cool with us, well, Sony, maybe it should be cool with you too.
Yeah, and I think the worst part about it is like the whole idea behind it and walled gardens in general means that the person that really suffers is the gamer, and we can all be like, oh, the gamer, but the developers get totally fucked over by this. If you're a developer, especially, I think what Phil said in there is the most important piece, which is if you're an indie developer, especially, you need to get as much market share as you can because you just don't have the money to push the marketing to actually do a AAA title. So every single system matters. And if you have that interplay, then it means the developers are going to make more money, which means those developers will turn into, the hope being, AAA title game developers. That's a very hard level to get to. You only see it in games like Riot or developers like Riot and other people that
PUBG,
have just gone beyond that because of the sheer volume of player. But if you have an ecosystem where everyone gets a fair shot to play with the people that they want to, I think you'd see a lot more indie developers make more money, be able to sustain their game better, because the other part of walled games means that you have to develop slightly different on every platform. And it starts to break down those barriers so that your game actually goes elsewhere. And on top of that, if you want to, you have the opportunity to double sell your game, which a lot of gamers, Derek and I both, would gladly pay for.
Oh yeah,
there is a scenario where if you told me I needed to own the game on PC and own it on Xbox so that I can cross-platform play with those two people, I would probably pay that money. I would double buy that game just for the opportunity to play with friends that I might not have on my Xbox, which I have many of those friends. So it hurts developers, it hurts gamers. It does not help anyone other than Sony. And that's the reason I think we get so heated about Sony over here. And that's probably why you see us as fanboys, because they do a lot of these things that are shady.
And they lie about it.
And they lie about it. They pretend that it's some other business decision other than the fact that they need or they're afraid. And that's what it really is. They're afraid to compete. They're too scared to compete on their own hardware. And that's a shame.
Yeah, their hardware may have been the big gun coming out of the gate, and they played off of the fear of people about Xbox's digital methods and not.
Which they now do.
Yeah,
and it's an industry standard.
Yeah, now everybody's on that same playing field. You had a head start. You got this bigger player base, but now you're coming into this, your second gen of hardware. Yours is subpar. Xbox's is going to blow it out of the water. And right now, you just would rather hang on to your player base than expose yourself to people judging hardware versus hardware. So I don't know.
Yeah, it's fuck Sony, man.
Yep.
Now we're back to fanboys. So.
Yep. Sorry. We're total fucking fanboys. Next story!
YouTube Live playthroughs are now a no-no for Nintendo creators, and this comes from Joystick X Engadget. Nintendo has updated its creators program's rules to add a new entry. Members can no longer broadcast on YouTube Live. The gaming titan has long been extra protective of its properties and regularly issues takedown notices for videos that use its games. It launched the initiative in 2015 as a sort of compromise with YouTubers who feature its IPs. The program gives streamers a way to get part of their Nintendo videos ad revenue, but it looks like the company doesn't want people earning money for live streaming their playthroughs. A lot of fans are obviously unhappy about the change, especially since streamers have to be part of YouTube's partner program to be eligible for Nintendo's. That means they first have to rack up at least 10,000 public views and get approved for YouTube's partnership before they can even apply for the developers. To be clear, program members can still post Let's Play type videos with commentaries. However, if they want to broadcast live, they can only choose between two options. They can either live stream on a channel not affiliated with the program or pull their channel out of the initiative entirely. If they opt for the latter, they can then register any of their work that contains a Nintendo IP on a per video basis. Unfortunately, they'll only get 60% of the ad revenue if they opt to register each video separately, whereas member channels get 70%. So I'm not quite sure what all this means, so I'm hoping you guys can explain all of this.
I don't understand what's wrong with Nintendo. Why don't they want people to be showcasing their games?
I think I get them on this one.
You do?
Well, my only thing is, so I didn't get him on the Let's Play stuff. I thought it made no sense. But I definitely can see the point where they want a piece of the profits of, I mean, why wouldn't anybody? I think it's a little, dastardly to do that, obviously, because but it is their content. It is their game. So I can let it slide there. When it comes to the live stream stuff, I think their fear is that when something is live, people have, very unthought out reactions to games and maybe will say things about those games that they don't necessarily have any power to control. And therefore, they don't want to give anyone the license to do so. I'm not saying that's right, because I think coming from where you're coming from, I think, ultimately everyone should be able to say whatever the fuck they want about a product that they bought, period.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's totally 100% true. But I at least can see it from their perspective, because recently with YouTube, there's so much hate now on reviewing games or reviewing products that I think people tend to just, go off the cuff and say whatever they say. And they're trying to protect themselves against that. So from a business, I get it, but from a gamer, I think it's total horseshit.
Well, especially where these limits aren't put on people for playing games on any other platform.
Right. The standard is not has already been set, and they're not following that standard.
When I was reading through this, the only thing I could think of is maybe because Nintendo games are usually a very different ire than other games, where they're like play through and then you're done. It's like a linear game that you play through. So are they afraid that the game is going to be, if someone's playing through it live on the first day, are they afraid they're going to lose those sales if someone doesn't like what they see? Absolutely.
I mean, you have that visceral reaction coupled with you seeing the game being played out. And then, are you less likely to buy that game or more likely? I would think you'd be less, but maybe I'm wrong.
I don't know. I'm just trying to, I was trying to wrap my mind around why this would be their hardline stance. And that's all I could come up with. But I just don't know. And what you're saying makes sense too, where you just don't want that gut reaction to it. You want someone to go through and record their shit and then do all their nice editing so that it looks like a nice fucking clean playthrough that you can put up without explicit tags, and you're not like, fuck this game, bullshit, whatever. So when they play through and you have that nice edited version, it's like, oh yeah, just fucking, oh, this is awesome, I played through this whole game, it was delicious, and I finished and I beat the boss. And you're like, well, that's not really what you thought, because you threw your controller like 5 times. Right. You said fuck your mom and Mario and threw shit. Like, I don't know. It's
that child tie-in, I think, that really puts them on their back foot more than other gamers are. Like, it just, there's a certain connotation to a Nintendo game that doesn't really map to any other system or any other game, really. And so they have this sort of, scared father figure type of scenario where they don't want anyone to see some of the
don't
cracks.
Don't talk bad about my kid.
Right. Yes, it's like, it's got that atmosphere to it. It is completely wrong in every sense of the word. I think what I'm attempting to do is to try to see it from their perspective. I think ultimately it hurts them more than it probably helps them, just because I think exposure, good or bad, is generally good.
I think it's
at the end.
Like nobody's business.
Yeah, I think so.
Unless you're I don't know, like rogue shit game that people are like, wow, I'm so glad I watched this.
Yeah, universally hated.
But
Nintendo makes
good
games.
Yeah,
right.
Like,
that's the problem.
You gotta rest on your laurels of the quality of games that you put out. And Nintendo first party titles, it's hard to name bad ones.
It is. It really is. If you're into that type of game, generally speaking, you're gonna get your money's worth out of it.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Yep.
So I don't know. This is a weird one.
Yep.
And eventually, I think they're going to have to loosen up on this again, and it's going to be a thing that comes back, and it won't stay because the money is there. I think if they just let people say what they want, I think they'll get what they want out of it if they just let it happen.
and I hate to go back to it, but once again, it's a Japanese company. It's a different mentality, and they've admitted it before. Like Reggie has come out when they do weird shit, and he's like, I know you don't understand this, but we're a Japanese company. We follow a different edict than you might be used to, and he tries to explain things away that way. And he's a good mouthpiece for covering up for weird culture differences that people have. But
yeah.
Who knows? Maybe Reggie will be like, "Listen, this is fucked up, guys. We gotta stop this right now." But we'll see what happens.
I'm glad we got another story to solidify the fact that we only like Xbox.
Exactly. All right, Tiff. Next story.
We are finally onto this week's What the Fuck story. IGN acquires Humble Bundle, and this comes from Engadget. Media conglomerate IGN has acquired Humble Bundle, the pay-what-you-want gaming book and software collection retailer that raises money for charitable causes. In a blog post, Humble Bundle co-founder, the CEO, Jeffrey Rosen, noted that his company will keep our own office culture and amazing teams with IGN helping us further our plans. Aside from noting that the retailer will get additional resources and help out of the deal, no details were disclosed. In the post, Humble Bundle noted that the platform has raised $106 million for various charities in the 7 years since it launched its first bundle. While the platform could do a lot with funding from a media titan like IGN, owned by J2 Media, there's obvious concern over potential conflicts of interest between a game reviewing publication owning a game-selling retailer. From a Humble Bundle's blog post, oh my gosh, it's like such a tongue twister. It seems IGN will leave it to operate more or less independently. The idea is just to feed them with the resources they need to keep doing what they're doing. We want to stick to the fundamentals in the short term. We don't want to disrupt anything we're doing right already. IGN executive VP Mitch Galbraith told Gamasutra. Because of the shared vision and overlap of our customer bases, there's going to be a lot more opportunities. So, I don't know. What do you guys think of this? This is pretty crazy, right? Very unexpected.
It's awkward. It's really awkward, right? It's an awkward purchase.
Yeah, I don't think anybody saw this coming.
No. No, and I don't know what the value is for IGN, and all you can really think of is the shady things that they can do with that purchase. It doesn't seem like there's anything there other than exploiting the fact that people like Humble Bundle and somehow getting that traffic or those people to loop back into the IGN sphere. So it just feels icky, I guess.
Where's, knowing Humble Bundle and how it works, where does the profit come from? Forget IGN. Let's say we're back to just Humble Bundle doing this. Where do they make their money? Because all the games are selling at a loss. The money is going to charity. So what are they collecting?
Well, I'm sure they take a piece off of that sale. Regardless of how low that piece is, I'm sure that the company still operates at a profit, because I think any deals that they make with the publishers, they probably get those on with the contingency that those games are not making any money currently.
Yeah, they're always older games.
Yeah, they're older games.
And it's not till that highest tier that you get like the good games.
The good games,
yes,
right.
Yeah.
And so I think they probably just, have operating costs that they can pay for, and they make a small profit on top of that. Is it a legit non-for-profit, or is it a for-profit company that donates to charity? That's my
That's really the question. I assume that they're for profit, so it must be that small percentage that they're gleaning. And because they were a no-name company, they can survive off of that slim profit margin. So for IGN to go out and pay all this money for it seems fishy, because they're probably paying more than they're going to take in that profit, at least in the short term.
Maybe. I mean, so Tiff put it up in chat. So they take 15% for themselves, 10% goes to charity. I do think that I'm wondering what the publisher's take is on that. I'm sure the publisher's take is whatever the majority of that percentage is that's left over. 15% on those sales. Again, they're a quantity seller, not a quality seller. And a lot of people buy Humble Bundles. I mean, millions of people buy those Humble Bundles because you can go in and throw $1 in and get, a decent amount of games.
10 games. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's a quantity scenario. It's like a Steam sale type of thing where you go on Steam and it's every game that you never give a shit about is 50 cents. You buy all of them. It's the same idea. So they're really just doing Steam sales as a branded entity. I would assume they make a pretty good amount of money. And I just think the weird part of this story is what role does IGN really have in that? Are they picking them up just for the profit margins, or is there something else there that they're going to do?
Yeah, something nefarious. Yeah, like because all of a sudden you're like, oh, this game we gave this game 10 out of 10, and you're like, oh, and by the way, it's in the Humble Bundle this month. Like, by the way, like, how do you even how can you even report that and have journalistic integrity? Like, you can't.
It's gonna be tough.
I don't understand. It's so fucked up, and it came such out of left field. And the whole internet felt that way. I saw Devolver Digital said they got acquired by the Food Network or something as a joke response to this, because it makes as much sense for the Food Network to acquire Devolver Digital. It's just a weird thing.
It's a weird thing, and it creates a lot of, again, ickiness with people, because they obviously, game journalism is not the most. I don't know how to put this. It's the shadiest fucking business there is, right?
Oh, yeah.
Like, reviews are sold daily. Everyone knows this is a real thing, and you could probably come at me and say this isn't true, but to some degree, it doesn't have the integrity that people normally think of with journalism, and not that journalism currently has that integrity either. So we're already on some shaky ground when it comes to this, and to buy something that is, while maybe for profit, backed by giving to charities, just feels a little weird. And of course, you're going to see tie-ins on IGN to push Humble Bundles, and that's going to happen. And so ultimately, the question is going to be, are they doing these reviews to affect Humble Bundle sales? And if so, is that going to be disclosed in any way, and how is that all going to work? So it is a what the fuck story.
It is.
For sure.
Yep.
Garrick, what do you think about the story?
Jay, the story has me saying, what the fuck? And on that, why don't we hop on over to the mailbag and voicemails, aka Altius's Corner. Altius asks, despite the multitude of people proclaiming the death of VR, Sony announced the second generation of their VR headset last week, effectively doubling down on VR. What are your current thoughts on the state of VR?
This is so I don't know why people are saying there's. So again, I own an Oculus Rift. I have multiple games. I don't think it's very good. But that's so they're betting on the technology to get cheaper, right? So there's no death of VR. I think VR is here to stay, and will only get more popular as time goes on.
It'll get better and cheaper?
Yeah, I think it's a given. I actually think that it's not crazy that Sony's doing this. If you've actually been following Oculus, their keynote, Carmack just went up on the keynote.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
It was an amazing keynote, by the way. John Carmack is, if you just want to listen to a guy speak about shit and be like, man, that dude's fucking smart, listen to John Carmack talk about Oculus. You will walk away wanting to buy one, even though you shouldn't. You shouldn't. But the long-term goal, and again, Oculus is now going to put out a $200 version of their system, so you can buy an Oculus for $200. It is completely detethered, which is something that people don't like about Oculus.
No PC, no phone, no anything.
Yep. That is good. All of this is good, because while right now the Oculus isn't the best buy, and I've said it multiple times, eventually it will be. So they're just betting on the future. And Facebook is the same way. People keep saying that, eventually Facebook's going to cut their losses and they're going to get rid of Oculus. I don't think they will. They've got plenty of money. They've got tons of runway, and they look at Oculus and VR as the future eventually. And so they're just putting money into consumer products to get more people to try to buy them, to get people interested in VR, to get developers on board who want to build games. And then over time, and this is the main crux of Carmack's, because I watched the entire thing, the main crux of it is the software needs to get better. It isn't, the hardware is not great. There are problems, and it's expensive, but no one has put the time and energy into software. And software is what runs hardware, period. If the Virtual Boy from years ago when we were little kids sucked ass because there were 2 games on it. The hardware was atrocious and you saw everything in red. That was bad.
But it was in fucking 3D-ish virtual.
3D, it was cool. Yeah. And if it had games, maybe it would have actually gone somewhere. I don't think it would have. But, I think that software will eventually be the thing that makes these things important. They're just not important right now. But I think the industry is fine and it will continue to go on.
No, for sure. I absolutely agree. I think that Sony's just they took people's complaints for their Gen 1 headset. They were like, well, it's hard to fit my headphones over. They're like, okay, we'll build headphones into it, and then we'll change this up a little bit, and we'll make the slimmer design for your head. Like, it just makes sense. It's like when the PlayStation goes to a PlayStation Slim. It's just the next iteration of hardware, and I think that VR is here to stay. Things, like you said, things are going to get cheaper. They're going to get better, and eventually the software will be there to support the hardware, and then that's when the mass markets will show up.
Yeah, and I always say this: if you like VR, it's a weird thing to say, buy VR. Like I have always been a proponent of this. It is a great thing if you don't have kids and you have tons of disposable income that you don't care about. But if you're interested in something like that, you speak with your money. And so this will continue as long as there's consumer interest. Right now, I agree there's not as much consumer interest, I think, as people thought there was. But I think the idea behind it is still sound. I don't think it's like a weird thing to want VR. And ultimately, I think AR, which is fast on the heels of probably becoming more important, will ultimately be where they go. It's just going to take time to get those two things together, to create a consumer product that matters, and to have software that links up with that.
And put it at a price point that people can buy.
That's palatable. Right.
Yep. Exactly.
Great question.
All right. Well, if any of you have great questions like Altius, give us a call, 773-527-2961. Email us at podcast@toolsplay.com. You can also comment on the social thread of the Tools Play homepage. Whew. That sentence always loses all my breath, but sorry. And sponsors. We got none because we ditched them. So if you want to sponsor us, once again, 773-527-2961. Email us at podcast@toolsplay. You tell us what you're selling, which you're going to pay us. We'll sell it. You pay us. Boom. Done. Twitter us up. You can find everything Tools Play related at twitter.com/toolsplay. Everything podcast related at twitter.com/still_got_game. I, king of the internet, got everything that's fucking holy at twitter.com/Derek Nolan.
And I, the king of VR, am at twitter.com/dude.rock.
And me, the queen of the news, am at twitter.com/electrify. I forgot which one we were doing.
And I, the king of production, am at
goddamn right.
Facebook.com/i6hitman.
Or twitter.com/i6hitman. Yes.
Both.
Oh, yeah.
Facebook the fuck out of us.
Oh,
Facebook.com. It's cool.
We got. I even lost where we were.
Oh, guys, we're all falling apart.
We're great.
Facebook the fuck out of us. Facebook.com/toolsplay. Facebook.com/Derek Nolan.
Twitter.com/dude.I-rock.
Facebook.com/ I don't remember.
Tiff Nolan.
Yeah, so I did Facebook last time. So Twitter.com/i6hitman.
Oh my God. It's a train wreck.
This is my favorite part of the show.
We have a YouTube channel, youtube.com/toolsplay. That's where we put all of our archive video content, whether it's episodes of this show, whether it's unboxings, whether it's quick hits, whether it's thick and thin with LB and Duty featuring prominently i6 Hitman, a special guest i6 Hitman, whatever you want to say, whatever our shit is, it's all on the YouTube channel. So go there, youtube.com/toolsplay, subscribe. You'll be notified whenever we have a new video. Also, please rate and review the podcast on iTunes. We need 5-star reviews, so go there, click the little 5 stars button, and if you have an extra 5 fucking seconds, just write something nice. God's awesome, love it, sick, whatever you want to write, just put it along with your 5-star review, because that means even more than 5 stars. But if you can only have like a second to do it, 5 stars will treat us right. We also have a Twitch channel, twitch.tv/toolsplay. That's where we broadcast our live video content. So go there. And we have a little follow button. If you click follow, you'll be notified whenever we go live. You can watch us, whatever it is. Doesn't matter. It's live. You can watch. But there's also a subscribe button there. If you go there and click that, it'll cost you $4.99, but you help us out. That's better than sponsors, better than anything else. Goes directly to us, helps us out. But you're like, $4.99 is too much for me, man. I can't do that. Well, you know what? You probably already pay for Amazon Prime. And if you do, then once a month, you can go pick any one Twitch channel you want and subscribe absolutely free using your Twitch Prime subscription, which is the same fucking thing. So if you're Amazon Prime, your Twitch Prime is there. Go there and do your free subscription to us. Costs you nothing. Gives us $4.99. Well, it gives us, Twitch takes their percentage, and whatever we're left with. It's minuscule. But, if all of you do it, and, well, I hate to say that because not all of our podcast reviewers are going to do it, and that's who we need to do it, our podcast listeners. But if you all do it, it'll actually help us out. So please go there and subscribe, and it actually helps us out. And it's definitely the way to show your love for the show. And I guess before we wrap up, I want to remind you all, you can join us each and every Monday night, 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific, twitch.tv/toolsplay. And on that, why don't we wrap this welcome back episode up? I am Derek D. Smooth Nolan.
And I am Mark Zuckerberg.
I'm Tiffany Electrify Nolan.
And I'm Roger Hitman Roken. Couldn't think of anything better. I don't know.
It's cross-platform play right there, guys.
Goddamn right.
Cross-platform